Morning light spills through the Petersons' cozy Modesto home. Laci hums softly as she folds baby clothes, tiny onesies, pastel blankets, a stuffed bear waiting on the dresser. Her belly moves slightly, a quiet kick from the baby she and Scott planned to name Connor. The house smells of cinnamon and pine. Christmas Eve has arrived. Scott moves in and out of the garage, loading his fishing gear into the truck. The metallic sound of tools echoes against the morning calm. He checks his watch, smooths his jacket, calls out, "Back by this afternoon." Laci nods, smiling from the doorway. "Don't forget dinner at Mom's tonight." Her voice lingers in the air, soft, full of warmth. Scott leans in, kisses her cheek. Then the sound of the truck fades down the quiet suburban street. Later that morning, a neighbor sees Laci walking the golden retriever Mackenzie. The dog's leash glints in the sunlight. A normal moment, a peaceful one. The last time anyone would ever see her alive. Hours pass. Afternoon shadows stretch across the street. Christmas lights flicker on in nearby windows. Mackenzie returns home, alone, leash still attached. The front door stands slightly open. Evening settles. Scott returns from his fishing trip, water spots on his shoes, a calm voice on the phone. He calls Laci's parents. "She's not home. Maybe she went for a walk." They wait. They call friends, hospitals, neighbors. No one's seen her. Minutes turn into hours. Scott finally dials 911. His voice, steady, almost too steady. "My wife's missing." Police arrive. Flashlights sweep across the living room. The half-wrapped gifts, the folded laundry, the dog whining softly. A trace of normal life frozen in time. An officer notes the small details. Laci's purse still by the door. Her car parked in the driveway. No signs of forced entry. Inside the nursery, pastel wallpaper glows under a dim lamp. Tiny shoes line the shelf. A rocking chair stands still, waiting. On the wall, a wooden sign reads, "Baby Connor." Outside, reporters begin to gather. The story spreads fast. A young, beautiful woman 8 months pregnant vanished on Christmas Eve. The perfect couple, the perfect home, the perfect life. But the longer she's gone, the less perfect it all begins to seem. Neighbors whisper. Detectives start asking questions. And every light in the house feels colder now, flickering over a truth that no one yet dares to imagine. The first night ends with silence. No sign of struggle, no ransom, no clue. Only an empty home and a husband sitting alone at the kitchen table, eyes fixed on the floor, his hands clasped tightly together. Outside, Modesto sleeps under a pale winter moon. Somewhere between the quiet streets and the dark water miles away, a secret has already begun to sink.
Days turn into weeks. Flyers blanket Modesto, stapled to trees, fluttering in rain. Laci's smiling face stares from every lamppost. Neighbors hold candles at night, their breath rising into the cold December air. Inside her parents' home, the phone rings endlessly. Each time, her mother reaches for it with trembling hands, hoping for a miracle. But the voice on the other end is always the same. No news yet. Scott appears calm in public. Cameras flash as he stands beside posters of his missing wife, eyes lowered, voice measured. He says all the right words, but something about his stillness unsettles people. Detectives notice too. They revisit his timeline, track his route to the bay, examine fuel receipts, GPS data, phone records. The details don't quite fit. In the garage, officers inspect his small aluminum boat. They find a homemade anchor, traces of cement dust. They take samples, photographs, each item tagged, bagged, stored. Rumors begin to swirl. Reporters call it the fishing trip mystery. A husband alone on Christmas Eve, casting lines into a gray bay, while his pregnant wife disappears miles away. January fades into February. Then April comes. Sharp wind, cold water, and the smell of sea salt drifting through the air. April 13th, 2003. A morning fog rolls over San Francisco Bay. A passerby, walking his dog, stops. Something strange lies tangled in the reeds. A body, small, swollen, unrecognizable, but wrapped in what looks like maternity clothing. Nearby, hours later, another discovery: the remains of an unborn child. Police rush to the scene. Yellow tape snaps in the wind. Boats circle the area. Detectives exchange glances. The coordinates are not far from where Scott said he'd been fishing. Tests confirm it within days. Laci Peterson and her unborn son, Connor. The city falls silent. At the Peterson home, reporters swarm the lawn. Neighbors cry quietly behind their windows. Laci's mother collapses when she hears the news. Her father simply stares out the window, whispering, "She's home now. Just not the way we prayed." Across town, Scott checks into a hotel under a false name. Detectives track his phone, watching him move between towns. They know he's running out of options. When they find him, he's near San Diego. His hair dyed blonde, car packed with clothes, camping gear, 4 cell phones, and nearly $15,000 in cash. He says he's visiting family. They don't believe him. The handcuffs click. A flash of cameras lights up his face. For the first time, he looks afraid. Back in Modesto, the candles burn again. This time for a vigil, not a search. The Bay has given up its secrets, and the story of Laci Peterson has turned from a mystery into a murder.
June 2004. Redwood City Courthouse buzzes with voices, cameras flashing like lightning. Reporters crowd the steps, whispering one name: Scott Peterson. He walks inside in a navy suit, face calm, eyes distant. Behind him, guards close the heavy wooden doors. The room smells of paper, coffee, and tension. In the front row sits Laci's family, her mother clutching a tissue, her father motionless beside her. They don't look at Scott. They can't. The prosecution begins. Photographs of Laci fill the screen, her bright eyes, the roundness of her belly, the nursery she never returned to. Then the boat, the anchors, the path to the bay. Experts testify about cement dust in the garage, matching particles found on the boat. A fisherman describes seeing someone on the water that morning, alone. Each word feels like a hammer. Scott sits still. No flinch, no tears, only a faint tightening of his jaw. Then a turn. The prosecution introduces someone new. A young woman walks to the stand, blonde, nervous, clutching a folder.
Amber Frey. Whispers ripple through the room. She adjusts the microphone. Her voice trembles. He told me he wasn't married, that his wife had died. Gasps echo across the gallery. Recordings play. Scott's voice, calm and charming. I'm in Paris right now. It's hard to be away from you. But the dates match the days when the search for Laci filled every news broadcast. Laci's mother turns away, covering her mouth. Her sobs break the silence. The defense rises. They argue no direct evidence, no eyewitness, only suspicion and emotion. They paint Scott as a man grieving privately, misunderstood by a world that wants a villain. But the jury watches him, his posture, his eyes, the faint smirk when questions cut close, and slowly sympathy drains from the room. For months the trial drags on. Autopsy reports, phone logs, expert analyses. Each day the same question returns. If not him, then who? By October, exhaustion weighs heavy on everyone. The lawyers close their books. The judge looks to the jury. 12 strangers, 12 silent faces. They stand. They walk out. The room empties into whispers and footsteps. Laci's family prays. Scott leans back, arms folded, waiting. Days pass before the verdict. Outside, the crowd grows. Candles, signs, photographs. The nation waits for an answer. Behind the courthouse glass, rain begins to fall. Justice feels close, but not yet spoken.
November 12, 2004. The courtroom packed beyond capacity. Reporters lean forward. Jurors file in, faces pale and unreadable. The judge asks if they've reached a decision. The foreman nods. A hush falls across the room, the kind that presses on your chest and holds your breath still. The clerk stands, paper trembling in her hands. Count 1, murder in the first degree, guilty. A gasp cuts through the silence. Laci's mother grips her husband's arm, whispering a prayer that's half relief, half grief. Count 2, murder in the second degree, the unborn child, Connor Peterson, guilty. Tears flood the courtroom. One juror wipes his eyes, another stares at the floor. Scott Peterson stands motionless. No reaction, not a tear, not a word, just a slow blink, as if he already knew this moment was coming. Outside, the crowd erupts, not in joy, but in release. Signs lift skyward. Justice for Laci and Connor. Cameras flash in the cold November air. Laci's family steps outside. Her mother clutches a framed photo, Laci smiling, pregnant, glowing in sunlight. "We finally got justice," she says through tears. But it doesn't bring them back. Months later, March 16th, 2005, sentencing day. The same courthouse, the same faces, but a heavier air. The judge reads the words that seal Scott's fate, sentenced to death. Gasps echo again. Scott's mother sobs quietly behind him. He turns once, looks toward the camera lights, and for a split second, a faint smirk crosses his face. Laci's father can't bear to look at him. He walks out before the gavel falls. Years pass, appeals filed, judges change. In 2020, the California Supreme Court overturns the death sentence, but not the conviction. Life without parole. Now, behind concrete walls, Scott Peterson wakes each day
In a small, gray cell, a calendar on the wall marking years, not days. No fishing trips, no Christmas mornings, no sound of laughter. Only silence. Back in Modesto, the Peterson home stands quiet. The nursery still holds traces of her, a faded pink blanket, a stuffed bear in the corner. The wooden sign still reads, Baby Connor. Every December 24th, the porch light glows softly. A single candle burns by the window. Neighbors say it's for her, a light that guides her spirit home. The city sleeps under another winter sky, and somewhere deep beneath the cold waters of the bay, echoes of that morning still linger, the echo of a love that died before dawn.
2 decades later, Modesto feels older, quieter. The Peterson house still stands on Covina Avenue, freshly painted, but haunted by memory. Neighbors pass by with their children, slowing their pace as they glance at the porch. A few remember the police cars, the flashing lights, the endless nights of waiting. The street looks the same, but everyone knows something sacred was lost there. Inside San Quentin State Prison, the morning bell rings. Scott Peterson rises from his narrow bed. His hair is grayer now, his posture heavy. He stares through the small barred window at a sky he can no longer touch. Some days he receives letters, strangers asking why. He never answers. The world outside moved on, but the shadow of the case never truly faded. Documentaries, news specials, books, each retelling the same question. How does a man destroy the life he helped create? Laci's family created a foundation in her name, helping families of missing women, supporting victims, turning pain into purpose. Her mother speaks sometimes at vigils, her voice trembling but steady. We can't change what happened, but we can keep her light alive. Every Christmas Eve, a small crowd gathers by the bay. They release white flowers into the water. Each one drifts outward, floating where Laci and Connor were found. The surface ripples gently, as if the water remembers. Wind sweeps through the marsh grass. Someone whispers her name. For a moment, it feels as if she's there, smiling, peaceful, free from the weight of what was done to her. Then the flowers fade into the fog, and only the sound of waves remains. What remains is not the crime, but the echo of love, the way a mother's hope outlives tragedy, the way a community never stops remembering. Because every story like this, every loss, every unanswered question carries a lesson that trust can be fragile, that evil often hides in plain sight, and that justice, even when late, will still find its way. Laci Peterson's name still means something. It means innocence. It means love betrayed but never erased. It means truth, heavy, painful, and unforgotten. And when the sun sets over Modesto each Christmas Eve, and the bay turns gold for a fleeting moment, you can almost imagine her there, holding Connor in her arms, smiling into the light.